Sometimes the quietest hallway is the loudest warning. I only went upstairs for a photo album. That's the part that still makes me laugh bitterly, like a man choking on his own memories. I was looking for a blue leather album I'd tucked away years ago, back when my grandchildren were still missing teeth and my wife, Elaine, was alive to label every picture with a careful, loving hand. My son's old bedroom was at the end of the hall, the one with the slanted ceiling and the squeaky third floorboard that always betrayed you. I stepped over it out of habit. Then I heard voices. Not normal voices. Not, "Hey, did you pay the Wi-Fi bill?" Voices. These were urgent, tight, hushed, the kind of whispering people use when they believe they're safe. It was my son, Ethan, and his wife, Marissa. They weren't in the bedroom. They were in the hallway. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like my body left me behind. "Saturday," Ethan murmured. "It has to be Saturday," Marissa answered in a sharp hiss. "And you're sure he won't suspect anything?" I froze. My heart punched at my ribs. In that second, I understood something every old man learns too late. Your house doesn't always belong to you just because your name is on the deed. I moved without thinking toward the closet in my son's old room, the one I used to hide Christmas gifts in. I slipped inside and pulled the door shut just as they entered. Through a thin gap in the door, I saw Ethan lift a prescription bottle. My name was on the label. And he said, in a voice I'd never heard from him before, cold as a basement floor, "This Saturday, the money finally becomes ours." When your own child speaks like a stranger, your instincts start screaming. My name is Walter McKinnon. I'm 71 years old, and I spent most of my life thinking I could read people. For 42 years, I worked as a hospital pharmacist in Columbus, Ohio. I wasn't the guy on TV solving crimes, but I knew what drugs could do to a human body. I knew side effects, interactions, the subtle ways a pill can change a person's balance, their breathing, even their will to fight. So when I saw that bottle in Ethan's hand, my name printed neatly across the label, I felt a kind of dread that went beyond fear. Because I recognized the game. It wasn't just a bottle. It was control. Ethan is 39 now. He used to be the kind of kid who rescued stray cats and cried when cartoon characters got hurt. Elaine and I raised him to be gentle, to be decent. After Elaine died 2 years ago, the house got too quiet, too big. I ate dinner alone at a table built for 6. I talked to the dog like he was a therapist. Then Ethan called. "Dad, we're in a rough patch," he said. "Just for a little while. Please." He showed up with Marissa and 2 suitcases that looked too expensive for people who claimed they were broke. He blamed a startup that fell apart. He told me investors were circling. He said they just needed time. I told myself I was lucky. Family under my roof again. But the truth? I was lonely enough to ignore what my gut was trying to tell me. And now, in that closet, I realized my loneliness had put a target on my back. The scariest betrayals don't arrive with a scream, they arrive with a smile. Marissa called me Mr. Mac the first week. She'd bring me coffee in the morning, the fancy kind with foam, like she was trying to buy my affection one latte at a time. She'd ask about my blood pressure, about my sleep, about my routine. Routine. That word matters. She acted like she cared, but her eyes always seemed to be scanning, measuring, calculating. At first, I blamed myself for being suspicious. After all, she was my daughter-in-law, my son's wife, a woman I wanted to trust. But little things began to itch at the edges of my days. Cash disappeared from my wallet, just 20s, here and there, small enough that you'd second-guess your own memory. The mail would be opened when I hadn't touched it. A retirement statement arrived already slit, like someone couldn't wait to peek inside. Ethan started asking questions he'd never cared about before. "Dad, where do you keep your will? Dad, do you still have that life insurance policy? Dad, does the house go straight to me? If what?" I'd joke. He'd smile too quickly. "If you ever decide to move." Then came the medication. I have a prescription I've taken for years. Same dosage, same shape. White tablets, tiny imprint. I could recognize them blind. One morning, the pills looked right, but felt wrong. Like a familiar song played in the wrong key. I didn't accuse anyone. I didn't panic. I did what I'd trained my whole life to do. I verified. And what I found made my blood run cold. When the label says one thing and the pill says another, someone is lying. I took one tablet to an old friend who still worked in a pharmacy across town. I didn't dramatize it. I walked in like I was picking up toothpaste and asked, "Can you do me a favor? Just tell me what this is." He studied it under the bright counter light, then checked the imprint. His face changed. "Walter," he said quietly, "this isn't what your label says." I felt my knees soften. "What is it?" "A sedative," he replied, "and not a mild one." My mind raced through possibilities. Pharmacy error? Manufacturer mix-up? But I'd been taking this medication for years without issue. Then I remembered who had picked up my refills lately. Marisa, she'd insisted. "You shouldn't be driving to the pharmacy, Mr. Mack." "I'll handle it. I want to help." Help! That night, I dug deeper. I logged into my online banking, something Elaine always did for us, and for the first time in months, I looked closely. Transfers, withdrawals, small amounts, spaced out like footprints. $2,000 labeled home repairs. $3,500 labeled medical expenses. $6,000 labeled property taxes. None of it made sense. The repairs hadn't happened. My medical bills were covered. I'd paid my taxes early. Over 8 weeks, nearly $30,000 had vanished. I sat in my study with the glow of the computer screen washing my hands in pale light, and I realized I wasn't just being helped. I was being drained. And upstairs, in my son's bedroom, 2 people were whispering about Saturday like it was a holiday. The moment you realize you're the plan, you stop being a father and start being prey. Inside that closet, my lungs barely worked. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed like he was discussing groceries. Marissa paced with her phone in hand, tapping a nail against the case, impatient. "We can't wait much longer," she said. "Your loans are stacking up, and if they sue—" "They won't," Ethan replied, calm as a man reading weather forecasts. "Not after Saturday." She leaned in. "Talk to me. I need to hear it." Ethan held up the bottle with my name on it. "He takes his meds without thinking. He trusts us." Marissa's voice dropped. "And the bathroom?" My throat tightened. Ethan exhaled, like he'd rehearsed this. "He always takes a bath Saturday night. He's done it since I was a kid. We'll make sure he's relaxed enough that he won't wake up. Then we go out, get seen somewhere, build an alibi. When we come back, we find him. Find him. Like I'd be an object. Like I'd be a broken lamp." Marissa whispered, almost dreamy. "And then the insurance, the estate, the house." Ethan said something that made my stomach twist into knots. "He's had a good life. I'm the one drowning. This is just collecting early." Collecting early. My life, reduced to a bank deposit. I pressed a fist against my mouth to keep from making a sound. Tears burned my eyes, not because I was weak, but because some part of me was still searching for the boy I raised. And all I could see was a stranger wearing my son's face. Fear is paralyzing until survival turns it into a checklist. When they finally left the room, I stayed in the closet long after the hallway went silent. I couldn't move. My muscles refused. My brain kept replaying the words Saturday, bath, bottle, hours like a cruel loop. When I finally slipped out, I crept back to my bedroom and shut the door like it was the last safe thing left in the world. Then I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the prescription bottle on my nightstand. My name, my address, my dosage. A perfect disguise. I picked it up and poured the pills into my palm. They weren't right. And the old pharmacist in me, the man who spent decades warning strangers about dangers, finally accepted the truth. Someone inside my home was poisoning me. I didn't call Ethan out. I didn't run downstairs screaming. I didn't do anything that would tip my hand, because if I confronted him without proof, I'd become the confused old man, the one who imagined things, the one who needed to be taken care of. And that phrase, taken care of, suddenly felt like a grave. So I made a decision that night. I would gather evidence, I would play along, and I would outsmart my own son, because I had 6 days, and I wasn't planning to spend the 7th as a headline. The hardest acting job in the world is pretending you don't know you're marked. Monday morning, I walked into the kitchen like nothing had changed. Ethan was leaning against the counter, scrolling his phone. Marissa hummed as she poured coffee like she was hosting a brunch. "Morning, Dad," Ethan said. "Morning," I replied, forcing my voice to stay steady. Marissa tilted her head. "You look tired." "I didn't sleep much. I said, which was true, just not in the way she meant. Ethan tapped the pill bottle with 2 fingers. Did you take your morning meds? No, I lead. I'll get them, he said quickly, too eager, and returned with the bottle as if it were a gift. He watched me closely as I pretended to swallow. I didn't. I tucked the pill under my tongue, drank water, and smiled like a man who still believed in family. When they turned away, I went to the bathroom and spit it into tissue. My hands shook as I stared at it. One wrong move and it would be inside me, changing my balance, my heart rhythm, my ability to fight back. I realized then that this wasn't just about Saturday. They'd been working on me for weeks, maybe months, softening me up, making me look frail, making sure that if I collapsed, no one would question it. That afternoon, I drove to my bank and asked for printed statements. I sat in a small office and highlighted each suspicious transaction with a pen so hard it tore paper. If Ethan wanted to treat me like a problem to solve, fine. I'd become a problem with receipts. Evidence is the only language a predator can't talk their way out of. I made copies of everything, every withdrawal, every expense, every transfer. Then I went back to the pharmacy, this time not to ask a friend, but to get documentation. Something that would stand up if this turned into a courtroom instead of a family argument. The pharmacist on duty, a woman named Tessa Lang, examined the pills with professional calm until her expression tightened. "Mr. McKinnon," she said gently, "these are not your prescribed medication." I swallowed hard. "What are they?" "A combination that can cause dizziness, confusion, and dangerous sedation, especially in older adults," she said. "At the wrong time, it could lead to a fatal fall or worse." I didn't ask her how. I didn't need details. I already knew the shape of the trap. "What do I do?" I asked. Her eyes sharpened with something like anger. "This is elder abuse. You need law enforcement." She handed me a card. "Detective Carla Nguyen, Elder Exploitation Unit." I sat in my car for a full minute before calling, staring at the steering wheel like it might answer for me. A calm voice picked up. "Detective Nguyen. My name is Walter McKinnon," I said, "and I think my son is trying to kill me." "Silence, then. Where are you right now?" I told her, and for the first time in days, I felt a thin thread of hope, like a rope dropping into a pit. When the right person believes you, the whole story shifts. Detective Nguyen met me at a diner off High Street Public. Neutral, bright. I brought the evidence in a plain envelope. Pills and tissue, bank statements, notes I'd written after the closet conversation. Every word I could remember. She didn't interrupt. She didn't smirk. She didn't give me that sure grandpa look. She listened like a woman who'd seen this before. When I finished, she leaned forward. "Mr. McKinnon, I believe you." My eyes burned. I hated that I needed to hear that. She exhaled slowly. "We're going to handle this carefully. If your son realizes you're onto him, you could be in immediate danger." "I already am," I said. She nodded. "Then we move fast, but smart. We'll need corroboration, documentation. If we can, we'll get a warrant for digital evidence messages, searches, financial logs." "And Saturday?" I asked, my voice rough. Her gaze held steady. "If Saturday is the planned incident, we want them caught in the act. We can set up surveillance and a recording device, but only if you're willing." I thought of Elaine's face, of the way she used to say, "Walter, promise me you'll never let anyone treat you like you don't matter." I nodded. "I'm willing." Detective Nguyen slid a small recorder across the table. "Then we start now, and you do nothing alone. Not anymore." I pocketed the device, and I drove home to the people who were already rehearsing my funeral. The countdown isn't just on the calendar, it's inside your chest. Tuesday through Thursday blurred into one long performance. Ethan grew kinder in a way that felt staged. He asked if I needed help walking down the stairs. He offered to run errands. He smiled too much. Marissa became watchful. She kept checking my face, my hands, my steadiness, like she was measuring whether the drugging had worked. Every morning, I pretended to take the pills. Every night, I wrote down what I saw and heard. Detective Nguyen's team pulled data from Ethan's laptop under warrant. She called me Wednesday evening. "Mr. McKinnon," she said. "His search history shows planning." I closed my eyes. "What kind of planning?" "Questions about drowning accidents, about how long certain sedatives last, about estate timelines." She paused. "This isn't impulsive. It's premeditated." I felt something crack inside me, not loudly, but cleanly, like an old bone snapping. Ethan wasn't a man who made one bad choice. He was a man who made the same choice over and over, every day, while looking me in the eye. That night, I stared at the ceiling and listened to their laughter upstairs. And I thought about the people watching this right now, parents, grandparents, anyone who believes family is always safe. So, before we go further, do what I asked at the start. Comment where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Because if you've ever felt that small, uneasy warning in your gut about someone close to you, I want you to remember you're not alone. Saturday was coming, and I was still alive. Then the unexpected happened, the one variable they didn't plan for. Friday morning, my daughter showed up. Her name is Lily. She's 34, stubborn in the way Elaine used to call a blessing and a curse. She lived in Indianapolis and wasn't supposed to arrive until late Friday night. But there she was, standing on my porch with an overnight bag and worry all over her face. "I couldn't shake your voice on the phone," she said softly. "Dad, what's going on?" Behind her, I heard movement upstairs. "Ethan, Marisa." I forced a smile so wide my cheeks hurt. "Just missed you, that's all." Lily hugged me, but when she pulled back, her eyes searched mine like she was reading between my wrinkles. Ethan appeared at the top of the stairs, startled. "Lily, you're early." "Surprise," she said, her tone polite but guarded. Marissa followed, robe tied tight, expression flickering for half a second irritation, then charm. "How sweet," she cooed. "Family weekend," but I saw it. The quick glance Marissa shot Ethan. The silent panic, because Lily's presence messed with their script. That day was torture. No private moment, no safe conversation. Finally, after dinner, Lily followed me into my room and shut the door. "Dad," she whispered, "tell me the truth." My hands shook as I pulled out the envelope, and I watched my daughter's face change as she realized the monster wasn't outside our home. It was sleeping upstairs. There's a special kind of grief when your child becomes your threat. Lily listened as I told her everything. The closet, the bottle, the money, the planned Saturday accident. She tried to deny it at first, like her mind refused to let the words stick. "Ethan wouldn't," she began. I played the recording I'd captured earlier, the whispering, the cold certainty. When Ethan's voice said, "This Saturday," Lily covered her mouth. Tears spilled fast. Rage followed. "That's not my brother," she choked. "That can't be him. I wanted it to be anyone else," I said. She stood, pacing, fists clenched. "I'll call him down here right now." "No," I said sharply. "We do this the right way. Detective Nguyen is building the case." Lily's eyes burned. "So we just pretend?" "We survive," I corrected. "We made a plan. Lily would act normal. I would keep acting weaker than I was. We would not tip Ethan off. And Saturday night, law enforcement would be waiting." Lily sat on the edge of my bed, shaking. "I'm scared." "So am I admitted. But there was something different now. I wasn't alone. And predators hate witnesses. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked. A door opened, then shut. Lily and I went silent, because in that house, even the walls felt like they had ears. Friday night is when guilt should show up unless the person has none. Ethan tried harder the next day. He joked with Lily. He cooked breakfast. He asked about her job like a brother who cared. Marissa played hostess, smiling too bright, touching Ethan's arm like she owned him. But I noticed the small slips. Ethan watched me when he thought I wasn't looking. Marissa watched Lily like a hawk. They were recalculating. Could they still do it with Lily in the house? Would they postpone? Or would desperation make them reckless? That afternoon, Ethan cornered Marissa near the laundry room. Their voices dropped low, but I caught fragments. "Can't wait. He'll ruin everything. Saturday. Saturday. Always Saturday." That night, Lily sat with me in my room while the house settled into uneasy quiet. "What if the police don't come in time?" she whispered. "They will," I said, even though fear clawed at me. I thought about Elaine again, and how she used to say our children were our legacy. I never imagined my legacy would be a man planning to erase me. Down the hall, I heard Ethan's footsteps pacing late into the night. He wasn't sleeping either. Because tomorrow, his life would either become a fortune or a prison sentence. The day you know they're going to strike, every breath feels borrowed. Saturday arrived with sunlight that felt cruel. Detective Nguyen's team installed a tiny recorder on me, hidden beneath my shirt. Not dramatic, not flashy, just enough. They stationed officers nearby. Unmarked cars, quiet vigilance. Lily stayed downstairs, pretending to scroll her phone like she didn't know the air was charged. Marissa moved like she was excited for a date. Ethan pretended to be relaxed, but his hands kept flexing. Around early evening, Ethan returned from the kitchen holding a glass of water. And 2 pills. My stomach tightened so hard it hurt. "Dad," he said gently, like he was offering me help. "Time for your evening meds." The camera in my mind zoomed in on his face. He looked calm. That's what terrified me most. Because anger can be impulsive. Greed can be frantic. But calm means commitment. I took the pills into my palm. I smiled. I lifted the water, and I didn't swallow. I performed the motion just like I'd practiced. Ethan watched my throat. Marissa watched my hands. Then Marissa stood. "We should go, babe. Reservation's at 8. Ethan nodded. "Right. Dad, take your bath. We'll be back soon." Back soon. To find me. My heart hammered as I forced myself to stand. "Actually, I need to talk to you both." Ethan blinked. "Now?" "Yes," I said, my voice steady in a way I didn't recognize. "Upstairs. The place they chose to end you can become the place you expose them." I led them into the master bathroom. The clawfoot tub sat there like a prop waiting for a scene. Elaine used to soak in that tub with romance novels and soft music. It was supposed to be a place of comfort. They had turned it into a weapon. I closed the door behind us. Ethan's patience cracked. "Dad, what is this?" I looked at him, really looked. This grown man, with my eyes and my wife's smile, twisted into something ugly. "This tub," I said quietly, "was your mother's favorite place in this house." Marissa shifted, uneasy. "Walter, you're—" "Don't." I cut in. I pulled the pills from under my tongue and dropped them into a tissue. Ethan's eyes flickered, startled. Then I took out my phone. "6 days ago," I said, "I hid in your closet. I heard everything." Ethan laughed once, sharp. "You're confused." I pressed play. His own voice filled the bathroom, cold, clear, undeniable. Marissa went pale. Ethan's face drained of color like someone unplugged him. I stopped the recording and met his eyes. "You were going to kill me," I said. "For money." For a second, the mask slipped, and I saw the truth. Not shame. Annoyance. Like I was an obstacle that refused to lie down. When a liar runs out of lies, they reach for entitlement. Ethan's mouth opened, closed. Marissa whispered, furious, "I told you to be careful." "Shut up." Ethan snapped at her, then turned to me with sudden pleading. "Dad, listen. It's not what it sounds like." "Not what it sounds like?" I repeated. I laid the bank statements on the counter. $30,000. Gone. I placed the pharmacy documentation beside it. My pills were switched. I stared him down. "That's not misunderstanding. That's a plan." Ethan's voice rose, frantic now. "I'm drowning. Do you understand that? I owe hundreds of thousands. The calls don't stop. The threats don't stop. You should have come to me," I said. "I did," he shouted. "And you would have said no, or you would have given me some little amount and told me to budget like it's that simple." Marissa suddenly lunged for the door. "I'm not staying here." The door opened from the outside. Lily stood there, blocking the exit, her face like stone. "Where do you think you're going?" she said softly. Marissa froze. Ethan turned to Lily, eyes wide. "Lily, get out of the way." Lily didn't move. "You tried to kill Dad." Ethan's shoulders sagged. I wouldn't actually." "You handed him the pills tonight," Lily said. "Don't insult us." Ethan's eyes flicked back to me, desperate. "Please, we can fix this." And that's when I said the words that ended everything. Detective Nguyen has been listening the whole time. The sound of sirens is the sound of consequences arriving. For a heartbeat, the bathroom was silent. Then Ethan's face twisted. "No, you wouldn't." I didn't answer. Because downstairs, a car door slammed. Then another. Footsteps pounded up the stairs like justice running instead of walking. Marissa screamed, wild, "You set us up!" "No," I said, my voice calm. "You set yourselves up. I just refused to die quietly." Detective Nguyen entered first, followed by uniformed officers. "Ethan McKinnon," she said, "you are under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy, elder exploitation, and financial abuse." Ethan staggered back like the words physically hit him. "Dad! Dad, tell them it's a mistake." Officers cuffed him. Marissa started shouting about rights, about misunderstandings, about how this was crazy. Detective Nguyen didn't flinch. She read them their rights with a voice that had done this too many times. As they were let out, Ethan turned his head and looked at me, not with remorse, with hate, and in that moment, something inside me finally let go. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just said quietly, "I don't know who you are." Lily wrapped her arms around me as the house fell into a silence I'd never felt before. A silence that meant I would see Sunday. Surviving isn't the end, sometimes it's the beginning of a different kind of pain. The next morning, the story spread fast. Neighbors noticed police lights. Someone posted it online. Reporters called. My phone rang until I turned it off. Ethan and Marissa were denied bail. Flight risk, severity of charges, evidence. Detective Nguyen told me they had an airtight case recordings, pharmacy documentation, financial trails, digital searches. But no amount of evidence could undo the truth. I sat in my living room staring at the family photos on the mantel. There was Ethan at 9, missing front teeth, hugging Elaine at a birthday party. There was Ethan at 22, graduation cap, grinning like the world was his. There was Ethan at 30, wedding day, kissing Marissa while Elaine cried happy tears. And I thought, how did we get from there to a bathtub plan? The trial took weeks. The courtroom felt colder than winter. I testified. The defense tried to paint me as confused, overreacting, paranoid. But then the recordings played. Ethan's voice, Marissa's voice, the planning, the certainty. You could feel the jury turning. Lily testified too, her voice trembling, her eyes steady. "I thought my brother was a good man," she said. "But good men don't research how to kill their fathers." When the verdict came back guilty, I didn't feel triumph. I felt grief. Because even when you win, you don't get your family back. Some sentences don't just punish the guilty, they bury the dream you had of them. At sentencing, Ethan wouldn't look at me. Marissa stared straight ahead like she was already rehearsing appeals. The judge didn't mince words. "What you attempted," she said, "was cruelty disguised as convenience. You betrayed trust, exploited vulnerability, and planned violence against the man who raised you." Ethan received decades. Marissa received nearly as much. As they were taken away, Ethan finally turned his head, and his eyes met mine. For a second, I expected something human: regret, sorrow, an apology. Instead, I saw something empty, like the son I raised had left years ago, and the person in front of me was just what remained. Afterward, I sold the house. I couldn't sleep under that roof again. Too many echoes, too many footsteps in the hallway that made my heart jump. I moved into a smaller place near Lily. She rearranged her life to be close. I started therapy. I hated that I needed it, but I needed it. One day, Detective Nguyen told me something that stayed with me. "Most victims don't catch it in time," she said. "You trusted your instincts." So, I began speaking at community centers, talking to seniors, talking to families. Because if my pain could become someone else's warning, it wouldn't be wasted. If your gut is warning you, that's not paranoia, that's survival. It's been over a year now. I still wake up sometimes thinking I'm back in that closet, listening to my son talk about my death like it's a business deal. But I also wake up grateful because I woke up at all. I learned things I wish I never had to learn. Love doesn't mean blindness. Family isn't automatically safe. A small, uneasy feeling is often the truth arriving early. Evidence matters. Documentation saves lives. Speaking up saves lives. Ethan sends letters from prison. I don't open them. Maybe someday I will. Maybe someday I'll be strong enough to read words from a man who tried to erase me. Marissa filed appeals. They failed. And me? I'm rebuilding. Slowly, quietly. With Lily nearby and a life that doesn't revolve around fear. If you're watching this and something in your own life feels off, missing money, strange behavior, medication changes, a relative who suddenly wants control, please don't ignore that feeling. Talk to someone you trust. Talk to professionals. Get help early. And now, I want to hear from you. Comment below where you're watching from and what you think you would have done in my position. Would you have confronted them? Called police immediately? Pretended like I did? Because your answer might help someone else recognize the danger before it's too late. My name is Walter McKinnon, and this is how I survived the thing I never believed could happen. My own son trying to make me disappear.